Sorry, let me just also do that. Hello.
Okay, people, we are back. We are very sorry, but this is the life in South Africa. It's not for the faint-hearted. So we have to deal with load sheds, which means power cutouts. And if you could see how it looks like here, we just have like a few of our phones used as torches.
Yeah.
And have to try now. Hopefully that Marcel can hear us from our internet, which is not the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So what is the real life?
I just said, like, there's a saying. Yeah, there's a saying here. So Africa is not for sissies, but nonetheless, we make that work. And as I say, look, I mean, like, we look even better, like, now when the light is actually coming to it. When the light is off. When the light is off.
That is the way.
Yeah, just exactly. 1 second.
I have here.
I also moved it around now. Just 1 second.
Oh yeah, now yes. We have just mentioned something which I think is like important also for the style that you represent, and maybe also that you represent, and that's why you're best flower buddies in that sense. That you said that what you offer is quite unique in the sense of that when you, for example, have a bride, when you're doing a wedding, that you go on site and you just design and you just take, like, obviously the lady as in like what she's wearing, what is her dress looks like, her style of hair, and like just the ambience and like her as the centerpiece, and you just design the flowers around her outfit, which I think is a fabulous and fantastic thing, and it's quite unique because I think a lot of designers are afraid to do that. They are afraid to just like design like on site or in the moment, because obviously there's a different pressure, but also
he likes the pressure.
Yes, you like the pressure.
I love the
that's
pressure.
what we've
I love that adrenaline rush. Yes, so that's what I love. So I think I think that the mark of a good designer is that you should be able to firstly almost design with nothing. You need to be able to look at nature, look at the product, and say, you know what, this is amazing. The beauty in this one thing is so amazing. I can create even something more beautiful with it. And then also, as I said, that the idea of not planning something so much that you almost overwork it, because then you kill design. I think if you overwork, that's also why I hate doing mock-ups, because that then creates this idea for a bride. It's going to look exactly like that. It can't ever look exactly like that. It has to be creative. If I create a mock-up, that's going to be in the bride's mind, and she's going to want exactly that. And if you have an anal, difficult bride, she's going to look at pictures and say, this was different on the day, that was different on the day.
Yeah.
Those are not the clients I want.
Exactly.
So I also believe that the right client always matches with the right designer. So if the client looks at my work beforehand, sets up a meeting with me, and looks at me, that means they already trust me somehow. I don't need to see a mock-up. So what I do, what not a lot of other designers enjoy, not my friends in any case enjoy it. But I have this thing where I offer it to a bride, not necessarily she doesn't have to take it, but I offer this service where I go to the bride on her wedding day with buckets of flowers, and while she's getting dressed, I will feel what the vibe is on the day. I'll see what she feels like. I'll see what she looks like. I'll see her dress, and then in front of her, I will stand and create a bouquet for her. And I've never ever had one bride that didn't love her bouquet after doing that. In fact, some of those brides have now become very good friends. So I can't believe you did that. I was dubious about how it would work, and it just works out, because I think that is also creativity. And that's also why a good designer could drive by a tree and see a branch and stop and almost roll his car and take that branch and that beautiful at that moment. It's all about moments and about creating beauty from in the moment. So to me, that's amazing.
Right.
I think studying drama and being a teacher, obviously, that probably also helped. So I don't get freaked out by things like that. I actually thrive on it. I love that. And I love seeing the bride's face when you hand over that bouquet, that she had no idea what she was going to get. And now just to see her, she's gleaming and happy. That's just makes me so happy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that shows also, like, I mean, obviously trust on the counterpart, like on the bride or on the couple side. But I think that is it, you know, like, I mean, by the end of the day, when you order a dress, you get the dress home because you've seen how it looks like, you've seen maybe some other designs, and you know that this is what you want, you know. So, and I think that is and even a more personal edge that you're giving, that you say, you know what, I'm the designer and I stand for my designs and I'm just creating in the moment. And it is what it is. I mean, it is all those designs, the wedding memories that you have. It is a moment in time that is frozen in your mind, you know, like this is what it is. And if you can add like your creative touch by actually doing that, I think that's amazing. But on the other hand, I know also that there are florists that cannot do it. They are also designers, but they need the peace of mind maybe to create something at home, you know, like maybe they need to look at some pieces of the fabric and like the style and stuff at home. But I think it's an amazing add-on value as well for
and also like it needs to you need to have a lot of confidence in yourself. I think that's why we try to encourage also young floral designer to do creative things and not only do things like
just copy
from a picture, like repeating from a picture. Do things creatively and be proud of that. I mean, in floral design, not a lot can be wrong.
No, exactly. So my favorite thing also, I love breaking the rules. I love breaking the rules.
Yeah.
That's why I should never, I can't actually compete in floral competitions because the rules are too bad. I don't like it. I don't like the rules. Maybe I'm a bit like that in life as well, who knows? But I like breaking the rules. And my clients also, I also totally believe every designer has the right client. That's the perfect match for that designer. Certain clients, I know I'll never get them. And if they inquire, I will tell them, listen, lovely, thank you so much for inquiring, but I have a friend that I think is much more suited to your needs. And your wedding's going to be better. So I think one must also be honest with oneself and the client. If it's not going to work for you, then you're not going to create something beautiful. So I believe in just
this
equilibrium
is
of finding the right client.
It's very important. What are you saying? I think maybe for a lot of people, like, which is maybe new in the industry, and I know like all of us, we need to make a living. All of us need clients, you know, but I think it is not enough spoken about that. Exactly what you said. Not every client is your client, and you also either you have to say no, and you have to understand this is not your client, and not to please the client with everything they want, and bend yourself over. This is not what it meant to be. And I think also like this is saying what I very often tell to people: you get what you show. And it's also what you said before, people see your work on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your website, so they already see who you are, what you do, what is your style, and that's why they contact you. And if there's someone maybe that you feel this is something you just don't want to do, then just don't do it, because you are not good at what you don't want to do.
No, I do believe that as well, because your work is going to suffer, and then you put that work out into the universe, and it's not you. It needs to be you. So my style is definitely wilder and more flourished, and my clients are like that as well. So my clients they trust me because they want someone that's going to take a chance and that's going to create something different. And then also I think the thing in this is also to share work, to also know that if this is the type of wedding that this bride wants, I'm not going to give her the best work, but my friend X will, and then she might see another client that wants quick forage weddings with blooms just popping out on the side, and then they're going to say, listen, you're lovely, but Marcel is your guy. And I also believe in that.
Yeah.
Well, the universe, if you look after other people, the universe will look after you again. No, that's just a repeat of that.
Yeah, you are right.
I believe in, what goes around comes around. So if you
Totally.
do this for others, they will do this for you at some point. I mean,
No,
not
totally.
immediately,
So
not in the same week,
yeah.
not in the same month, but it will. If this is like a give and take, this is a very healthy business ethics. Like this is really a very healthy way of doing business.
So especially in Cape Town, you know about our group of florist friends that created the thing called the Old Age Home. But we often work together, and we often send work to someone else. And then
but I can also
freelance at
say
wedding
you
for
are
them.
one of the few that work together. There's not a lot that work together. Yeah.
But the beauty in that is also strength in numbers. We are all better at different things, I would say. You can be good at everything, but there's one thing that you love more than anything else. So when I book a wedding, I know what for this wedding I need this and this to happen. So if I have this friend helping, I know she's amazing at that, and she understands my style. So it's not going to be her style, it's my style. And the same for me.
Right.
So lots of the girls often get me to freelance for them because I love hanging from chandelier and doing big wild arrangements that you can only do a few hours before. They don't enjoy it, so they know I love it, and it's just strength in numbers. It's fantastic. We look after each other, and I think that's not to just say, okay, I've got this flower farm, and I know that they grow amazing roses, but I'm going to keep this information to myself. That shouldn't be. It's not how business works. You need to share contacts. You need to share suppliers as well.
No.
Totally. Because then it's better for everyone. I also think competition is good. And so there's no reason to keep a supplier to yourself. So that's just my thought.
No, this industry is very small, and what Elfie said, we need each other, and we would like to encourage much more people, and particularly in Cape Town, to work together. I mean, as I said, you are one of the very amazing examples that you work together with a group of amazing florists. But we hear a lot of other stories as well when people look for corporations and they just don't get people on board because they still maybe not feeling comfortable to work with, in brackets, their competitors. I mean, like we always say, there's no competitor, there's always colleagues. Like we are all colleagues, and maybe with one you work better, with the other one maybe not, but there shouldn't be a competition because there's enough work for everyone, and there is as we said before, we all have our styles, and we all have our clients, we don't have to fight for them.
No, totally, exactly. And also, just also the quality of work that you can produce once you accept that you are good at something is better. So if you know that your full colleague is fantastic at something, why not use that to your advantage as well? Learn from each other. So I think that's also the great thing in our freelancing community, almost like, if I'd call it that, is that we learn from each other, which is fantastic. And one is never too old to learn. And I love that. I just love it. I've become very, very close, and I love my floral colleagues. I love it. We're like a family. And my life would have been so boring without that. I would have just sat on my own.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Of people working for me. I'd much rather work with my colleagues. It's much more fun than having my own staff help me. So yes.
That's amazing. Can I ask you now, looking a little bit like into the crystal ball, or maybe even into your diary, how does like floral business, and maybe even also like tourism, like your guest house, you mentioned that you're running a guest house as well. Like how are things looking like on your side now? When do you have your next wedding in the books, and like maybe when are the next guests coming?
So we are quite lucky in that we have a few properties. So we rented some of our rooms out on the longer term. So that is a steady income coming in, which is fantastic. We also have a small guest house, or a house that we rent out in Cape Town. And that has been amazing. That was saved us during this lockdown as well. Again, the universe was fantastic. We were in Tilbach 2 days, the day before lockdown, and we had 2 guests stay with us, 2 German guests. One is about 10 Tanza, and they came to Tilbach and everything was closed. Everyone was worried about lockdown, so they came to beautiful Tilbach and they couldn't see anything. And I felt very sorry for them, and I took them on a little tour of the streets and of our garden, and we were just chatting, and with lovely, friendly people as well. And I said they're catching a flight the next day to Germany. And I said, well, are you sure you're going to get on the flight to Germany? And I said, no, they're definitely sure. Also, because they worked with Lufthansa. So on the night of lockdown, 9 o'clock. So lockdown was 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock that evening. Well, I said to them firstly, I said, we have a house in Cape Town. So if there's a drama, remember we have a home in Cape Town. 9 o'clock they phoned me and they said, you know what? There were thousands of people wanting to board the plane, and there wasn't space for them on the plane. They had to lock down in South Africa. They had nowhere to go. They had 3 hours. Please, please, please. So the universe smiled on us and on them. They stayed in the house for 3 weeks, which was fantastic. We got a bit of income from that, which was great. We went to Cape Town. They eventually got back to Germany. Got to Cape Town, and we were worried, gosh, we need more money. Now the guests are gone. There's no one in the guest house in Tilbach. No flower business for me, obviously. And 2 days later, 2 people in Cape Town's house burned down during lockdown. They couldn't find a property. They couldn't get furniture or anything. And they then moved into our house in Cape Town, which was fantastic. It just worked. So I totally believe these things work out. So in my crystal ball, things will work out. It will be different. I think in a way, lockdown and COVID was actually also good for lots of people. It was a sifting process to see which designers for us in our industry can actually stand up and stay strong. It's going to be difficult for lots of people to work with the new scenario. I know lots of designers would struggle to work maybe with smaller budgets if they are smaller. Lots of them would struggle to not do huge installations. I think the wedding industry obviously is going to be quite different as well. I mean, the amount of guests at a wedding, that's quite a tricky one. For our guest house, we are slightly stressed in that lots of our guests were international guests. And we're obviously not sure when international travel will open again. I do think, however, my husband's less positive about it than I am, but I think that people in Cape Town are now tired of sitting in Cape Town. People in Joburg are tired; they can travel again. So we've seen quite a few people wanting to come stay with us for a few days, where normally our South African guests were only wedding guests, so they would come to stay in my guest house because they were at a wedding in Tilbach, and lots of them would only want to come for one night. Lots of these people are wanting to come just on holiday with their families. Lots of people can work remotely. One of my ex-students at Brigham actually came to stay with us for 2 weeks. She said, if I sit in my flat in Cape Town or if I sit in beautiful Tilbach, it's the same thing. You've got Wi-Fi, why not? So we've created a few special deals on our website as well, which has been working. As I said, you have to be creative during these times. You have to find new streams of income as well. So we are lucky that we have the guest house, that I do flowers, and that we have the vegetables now. And somehow the 3 of them kind of also intermingle, which is quite nice. We've had amazing photographers, for instance, coming up to visit us to stay for free, and they did amazing photo shoots for us that we're rolling out onto Instagram and onto Facebook now. So I think, my crystal ball, I think we're going to be fine. If we're going to struggle a bit, we're not going to go overseas for a while, I can tell you that. But I think because we are not scared of working, and because we can think out of the box, and because we are creative, I think we'll be fine. I see lots of my flower friends have also during lockdown become creative. They've had to do other things to come up with new products or even new little businesses on the side, as we do. One of from Fox & Co. She has the most amazing new gluten-free bread mix that she's come up with, and that was also it was one of her father's recipes. And during lockdown, we created this amazing business. This is actually part of our vegetable hampers now as well. So it's also the idea of not in competition but helping each other. So I think we'll be fine. I missed my brother and his family, obviously, who are in Austria. And my sister-in-law is now pregnant, so I'm going to have a lockdown baby, dare I say it. And we're only going to see them once the baby is here. So that is quite sad. But thank goodness we have technology. We can Skype call and we can Zoom call and so I think lockdown has been actually in many ways good for my relationship. It's been amazing actually. I mean, I know of lots of my friends that are wanting to get divorced after lockdown because the being with your husband or wife in one room or in one house for the whole of lockdown can be quite trying. But for us, it was amazing. We drove to Namaqualand recently with a friend to visit my cousin.
That was amazing.
And it was so beautiful. It was amazing to see all the flowers. Obviously.
It was good for the soul.
And while driving, we were talking. So we had lots of highlights in our marriage, in our relationship, meeting each other, going to Rio, going to various other places overseas, going to Africa Burn together, getting married, obviously, getting our poodles, for instance, buying our first house together. And then my husband said, you know what, for a while, it's been great. We've never had a fight. It's lovely and we love each other. But those were the highlights. And then we said, you know what, COVID's actually a highlight in our relationship as well. We are stronger together than ever. We've created a new business together. And I think it's also he's creative, obviously that helps. But we are blessed. So my crystal ball says everything's going to be fine. And we're going to struggle a bit, and obviously we have to tighten the purse strings a bit, and we have to create more income. And obviously, as I'm sure you as well, lots of people have lost lots of money, and this is a reality that we have to deal with. But I think if you just focus on that, you can't be creative. If you just sit down and sort of cry and say I'm happy and unhappy, it's not gonna do anything to the greater good of you or of the world. So my crystal ball is going to be fine.
That's amazing. And that's why we love people like you here, because you can spread a message of positivity. And I think that is also what is much needed now. We and as you like rightfully say, I mean, COVID has been maybe a blessing for some in a way, like personally, like maybe that they could take time for themselves, that they maybe could pursue a passion project that they never had time for, that they have time for their families, because I think everyone in our industry like knows that time was something that we never had enough of. Not for ourselves, not for our family, not for our friends, not for our hobbies. We always worked when everyone else was partying. We always worked when everyone else was having a good time. I mean, something like Easter with family was something that nobody could even think of if COVID didn't happen. So I think in this regard, a lot of those things that you have mentioned have been like a blessing, but we also know that a lot of people like are put in a very difficult financial and economic situation. And it's not a joke. It's really very traumatic. People are going into depression. People are becoming suicidal.
Yes, it's horrible.
Yes. So it's a very serious subject.
In that, I also think that just what made me calm down about the financial aspect and all the horrible things that happened is that we are all in this together. It's not only you, which makes it much easier. I think if it was only a little town, but it's the whole world. So I think that unity in diversity almost, if I call it that. We are all so diverse, but this thing actually united lots of people.
Yeah.
Which is also a positive thing about it.
Yes. Yeah, because you can speak to your brother in Austria, or you can speak to anyone. They can all understand your situation at the very
Exactly.
end of Africa. You know, like
Yeah.
we can
Exactly.
talk to like people from around the world, and they somehow have the same understanding of the situation and the position that we are in. But what I wanted to say is that I am very happy that you see like sort of still like the situation with different eyes, that when you are creative and if you can pull out yourself from this situation, that you will come out stronger than maybe before, and maybe even with a different perspective, maybe even with a different business, maybe even with a different business model, because also, and this is something that we also all have to like think about, we have become very lazy in the sense of that we have become very comfortable in the way we have done business. We have never
exactly
really thought about like maybe challenging ourselves and the structures that we were in, because everything was just working and we were too busy like doing things, and had no time to think about maybe if there was a different way of doing things, or if there was a different way of approaching a problem, or if there was maybe something else that would make more sense to us. It was just like had to be done. And I think that is a good opportunity for a lot of us right now that we could take, and the time that we never had. And I hope this time will never come back very soon, but just I hope that a lot of people could take advantage of it as much as possible.
No, exactly. So that time aspect was amazing. So we were also obviously quite lucky that we had the garden. So we kept busy the whole time. And I think I can also see with my floral friends that kept busy with something, they're definitely much more positive than some of the others that kind of just sat back and watched television the whole time. So they started making plans, they rebranded, they did photos, little shoots, they did demonstrations online. So just that, that idea of, yes, it's a horrible thing that happened, and may it please never, ever, ever, ever come to us again. I also think in South Africa, we probably had it worse than any other country. With lockdown restrictions, etc., that was just ridiculous. I mean, I think that added lots of stress to it. But in that as well, the whole world could say, "Shame, you know what? It's worse for you than for us." And just to take knowledge of that, but then within that situation, work and stand up and get out of it. We have to. That's what we can do.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your passion, for your positivity. I think it's helping a lot of people out there. I think that's why we wanted to have you. You have a very positive outlook on life, and I think that is what gives people strength also. And your passion for flowers, I think, is something that is amazing. Tell people, please, two things. The one is like about your guest house. Like, how can people maybe, if they have, I don't know, friends now that national travel is possible, maybe they want to come visit,
That's
tell
lovely.
them where can they find more information, and the other about your floral business.
So our business is called Cape Dutch Quarters, and it's in Tulbach, and our website is cdq.co.za. And our guest house is basically, the concept is that it's all these old Cape Dutch houses, all national monuments, and they're all scattered in one street basically. And it's called Church Street as well, and it has the oldest church building in South Africa, and it's very special. It's almost like a living museum. So I'm actually in the corner of one of the rooms now. You can't see, but it has thick walls and beautiful wood. And we're collectors. We're actually probably hoarders, but we're collectors of beautiful things. And the guest house is really it's magnificent. It's beautiful. We also have a little cottage right up in the mountains on one of the farms, and that's all on the website as well. And yes, my business is called Design by Marcel. And yeah, you can find that on Instagram or designbymarcel.co.za. Hello, ladies, are you still there? Hi, ladies. Are we still there?
Are you still there?
Oh, there you are. Sorry, you went into the dark again.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my business is called Design by
I think,
Marcel, and
like
I can find that.
this is now
in my
really,
life.
we are sitting here like Aladdin with the oil lamps, like on a
I
big
can see
or
it's
something.
very
Yeah,
dark
but
in the
we're
back.
about to like to wrap up. So
But one thing, like you made me actually feel like this is such a beautiful place. Whenever we will be in the area, we will
Please come.
hopefully maybe come
visit.
and pay you a
You
visit.
have to come.
Yeah.
You have to come. You have to come. We're also starting. We're in the garden. We're also starting a permaculture course actually, where we'll have people come and visit, stay with us in the guest house, and then they'll learn about growing vegetables and edible flowers and things like that in the garden. And they'll also go forage with me on some of the farms and in our garden. And I love cooking as well. I love cooking, so I'll cook from the garden for them, and we'll do some floral demonstrations and things like that. But we'll that'll all be online, and it'll go onto social media quite soon as well. So we're quite excited about that as well. And that's just another way of linking all our businesses and creating a new business.
Exactly. And about these edible flowers, I will maybe hopefully get back to you. Send me maybe some more information about that, because we have had a couple of requirements or inquiries for edible flowers from caterers, and also for specific like decoration purposes on ice bars and stuff like that. So I was actually desperately looking for edible flowers somewhere, but I couldn't find, like a half year ago or something, like last year was it. Yeah, maybe I can take this up somehow again and send me some pictures and maybe some prices and stuff like this.
Absolutely.
That would be nice,
come visit
actually.
me, come see. We'll send you some photos as well. We've planted a lot of flowers as well. So
and we will eat up your whole
beautiful
garden.
baby leaf salad.
The
with all
100
these
is for
flowers.
us.
Yeah, the 100 is for us.
There we go. Yes. That took a lot of flowers, by the way.
Yeah,
I
I can
can
imagine.
imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And for your floral design, it is designed by Marcel, right? If some people want to look
Yes,
at your
designed by
design
Marcel.
work, this is where they can find you.
Yes, and please follow me on Instagram and have a look at the countdown.
We do.
Yes.
Otherwise,
I know
wouldn't
you do.
all
I'm saying
of
that other
this.
people should.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, definitely, we will do that. Marcel, it was such a pleasure. And I
Thank you so much.
expected something special, and you didn't disappoint me. I really must say it was amazing talking to you.
I'm sorry about
Thank you so
us
much.
being late, and also a little bit like ESCOM, not doing a lot of for shedding light, let's say.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being patient with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.